They say they got AC.
Okay, good.
I'd like to call the Mentor City Council regular meeting to order July 5th, 2023. The invocation will be given by Councilman Freeman.
Heavenly Father, we thank Thee for this day. Help us to use good judgment for the business at hand and guide us in wisdom with a continuing sense of truth and fairness for the community we represent.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Here.
Mr. Kirchner.
Here.
Mr. Krieger.
Excused.
Mr. Barn.
Excused.
Mr. Blake.
Here.
Mr. Donovan.
Here.
Mrs. Dowling. Here.
Council, in your receipt of the June 6, 2023 regular meeting minutes.
Move to approve?
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner.
Abstain.
Mr. Excuse me, sorry, Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
Yes.
Council, we have a public hearing, ordinance number 23-0-050. This public hearing is now called to order and being held pursuant to the notice duly published and posted according to the law. Clerk will read the ordinance.
An ordinance approving and adopting the tax budget of the City of Mentor, Ohio for the fiscal year commencing January 1, 2024, and submitting same to the county auditor and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Filipiak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Malinowski?
Thank you, Mr. Filipiak. Members of council, this is our annual tax budget that you will be considering after the public hearing, and it represents the estimated collections for 2024, which is about $7.25 million, comprising our 4-point mills that are out there. And when you consider this, I would recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malinowski. Are there any comments from the applicant? That's us. We already did that. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Wishing to speak in opposition? Move to suspend. Or I need a motion.
Close.
Oh, close it?
Close the
Close
public
it.
hearing.
Close the public hearing. Tabled legislation, we have none. New legislation, ordinance number 23-0-050.
An ordinance approving and adopting the tax budget of the City of Mentor, Ohio for the fiscal year commencing January 1, 2024, and submitting same to the county auditor and declaring an emergency.
Move to suspend.
No,
Move
move
for
right
passage.
into the
Move for
passage.
passage.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-0-050 is approved. Ordinance number 23-0-051.
An ordinance to authorize transfers of funds, advances of funds, and revisions to appropriations and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Flipiak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Malinowski, please.
Thank you, Mr. Filipiak. Members of council, this ordinance accomplishes three things. Firstly, it authorizes a permanent cash transfer out of the city's general fund in the amount of $3.5 million. That represents 50% of our self-insurance fund to keep that fully funded. Secondly, there's a temporary cash advance in the amount of $453,094.45. That represents the federal grant related to the permeable pavement project down at the Mentor Lagoons. And then thirdly, there are several appropriation revisions, mostly related to grants. There are a couple other items that are non-grant related. One, additional money for fuel with the price of gasoline being what it is. And secondly, an additional increase on the subsequent ordinance that you'll consider on a Heisley Road resurfacing project where it came in higher than the engineer's estimate. And I would recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank
Move
you,
to
Mr.
approve.
Malinowski.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-0-051 is approved. Ordinance number 23-0-052.
An ordinance accepting the bid of Roniak Brothers Paving, Inc. and awarding to it the contract for the Lake Heisley Road resurfacing project PID 111566, authorizing the city manager to execute all contract documents on behalf of the city and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Flippia.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is the first of 3 projects on your agenda tonight that include partial funding through the Ohio Public Works Commission. Mr. Swigger is going to tell you about each of those. Mr. Swigger.
Thank you, Mr. Flipiak. Bids were open on Friday, June 23rd for the LAK Heisley Road resurfacing project. The project will provide asphalt pavement resurfacing on Heisley Road from State Route 2 to Hendricks Road. The bid package consisted of a base bid and no alternates. The 2 bids received range from a low bid of approximately $1.43 million to a high bid of approximately $1.48 million. It's been determined that Roniak Brothers Paving of Burton, Ohio submitted the lowest total bid of $1,438,425. The engineer's opinion of probable construction cost was $1,269,000. The project has been awarded a $1,125,000 funding through NOACA to cover up to 80% of the cost of the project, and that's federal funding. Also, approximately $280,000 in TIF funding is expected to be utilized on the project. A review of the bid from Roniak Brothers Paving indicates it's in conformance with all contract requirements. Therefore, that a contract be awarded to Roniak Brothers Paving, who are experienced and qualified to perform the work in the amount of $1,438,425. And the scheduled final completion date for the project is November 17th of this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swigger.
Move to approve. Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
yes,
Ordinance number 23-0-052 is approved. Ordinance number 23-0-053.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager to approve the program year 2022 Community Development Block Grant Budget, submit the fiscal year 2022 CDBG action plan, and enter into sub-recipient agreements to undertake the action plan and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Flippia.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the record, this is fiscal year 2023. I'm sorry, plan year 2023, fiscal year 2022. The community development block grant people like to confuse us even more with the way they label these. But council, this is our annual CDBG appropriation. Our project year, for which will commence October 1st, is for $164,676. You see the subrecipient organizations listed in your attachment to this ordinance. It's essentially identical in terms of our organizations that we have assisted within the Lake County community. Lifeline, Homeless, the Project Hope, Forbes House, Lake County Free Clinic. There's one capital project on here, which is an ADA lift for the Temple AM Shalom here in town for the amount of $3,450. And then the bulk of that going to our community development housing improvement program through Western Reserve. I will also point out that once again, we're allocating $25,000 to our handicap sidewalk program as part of the pedestrian safety program throughout the city. And $26,500 will be allocated toward the expansion of the senior center parking lot, which we have talked about quite a bit recently. Happy to answer any questions.
Council?
Move to approve. Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
yes,
Ordinance number 23-0-053 is approved. Ordinance number 23-0-054.
An ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a Mentor Economic Development International Passport Grant with Block Digital, Inc.
Mr. Flippia.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Malachek, please.
Thank you, Mr. Filipiak. Many of you have had the opportunity to meet Block Digital. Their two principals, Keith Cox and Chris Hotham. They are currently a Derby, UK-based company establishing their U.S. headquarters here in the city of Mentor in the Matchworks building. Their Mentor offices will launch their U.S. presence of their digital engineering services. They're very specialty-oriented services in digital visualization, immersive, and Internet of Things technologies. They have several clients in the area, and I will also say, since they've now visited here both in March and in May, they've already done some contract work with one of our local manufacturers that they were able to meet during those visits. They were introduced to us through our growing relationship in the Midlands, with East Midlands Chamber in particular, and through our international trade initiative. They, as I said, will be leasing space in the Matchworks building, projecting to create 5 jobs through 2024 and up to 26 jobs by the end of 2026. The beginning payroll will be $265,000, but they're planning to expand that rapidly, especially based on some of this business that they're getting in the U.S. already. Over $1.5 million of new payroll is projected over the proposed 3-year grant term of this International Passport Grant. And based on the guidelines of the program, they would qualify for a $5,000 initial economic development grant under the terms of our International Passport Grant category.
Council.
Move to approve. Second.
Julie, please call a roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
yes,
Ordinance number 23-0-054 is approved. Ordinance number 23-0-055.
Mr. Filipiak.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
An ordinance accepting the bid of Zerby Construction LLC and awarding it the contract for the Wildwood Cultural Center Storage Garage, authorizing the city manager to execute all contract documents on behalf of the city and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Filipiak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Council, on June 8th, the city received 5 bids for the construction of the Wildwood Cultural Center storage facility. The bids range from a low bid of $732,947 to a high bid of $905,000. The low bid was received by Zerby Construction LLC, which is based in Mentor, Ohio. They were found to be in conformance to all bidding requirements. The architect's estimate on probable cost was $675,000. After review, we are recommending the award to Zerby Construction.
Thank you, Mr. Filipiak. Council.
quick question.
Mrs. Dowling.
Just wanted to double check, is the building that we're bidding, does it look like the rendering that we were shown a few months back? Because I've shown that picture to so many people, and they love it.
Give you the obvious answer, which is until it's done, we won't know exactly.
That's true.
Yes, we anticipate that it will look very much like the rendering.
Good.
Move to approve. Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-0-055 is approved. Ordinance number 23-0-056.
An ordinance adopting the bid of Carvo Companies, Inc. and awarding to it the contract for the Chillicothe Road resurfacing project, authorizing the city manager to execute all contract documents on behalf of the city and declaring an emergency.
Mr. Filipiak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Swigger, please.
Thank you, Mr. Filipiak. Bids were opened on Friday, June 23rd for the Chillicothe Road resurfacing project. The project will provide asphalt pavement resurfacing on Chillicothe Road from Mentor Avenue to State Route 84. Bid package consisted of base bid and no alternates. The 4 bids received range from a low bid of approximately $1,037,000 to a high bid of approximately $1.4 million. It's been determined that Carvo Paving Company of Stowe, Ohio, submitted the lowest total bid of $1,037,550. The engineer's opinion of probable construction cost was $1,110,000. Project has been awarded $625,000 in state funding through the Ohio Public Works Commission, which was a $475,000 grant and a $150,000 loan. Cover up to 50% of the project costs. Review of the bid from Carvo Paving indicates it's in conformance with all contract requirements. Therefore recommended that a contract be awarded to Carvo Paving in the amount of $1,037,550, and the completion date for the project is scheduled for October 31st of this year.
Thank you, Mr. Swigger. Council.
Move to approve. Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
I'm so happy to see this, come before us and say yes to this.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-0-056 is approved. Ordinance number 23-0-057.
An ordinance accepting the bid of Carvo Companies, Inc. and awarding to it the contract for the Garfield-Jackson resurfacing project, authorizing the city manager to execute all contract documents on behalf of the city and declaring an emergency.
Filipiak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Swigger.
Thank you, Mr. Filipiak. Bids are open on Friday, June 23rd for the Garfield-Jackson resurfacing project. Project will provide asphalt pavement resurfacing on Garfield Road from State Route 84 to the South Corp limit, and on Jackson Street from Heisley Road to the East Corp limit. The bid package consisted of a base bid and no alternates. The 4 bids received range from a low bid of $895,000 to a high bid of $1,018,650.25. It's been determined that Carvo Companies Incorporated of Stowe, Ohio submitted the lowest total bid of $895,000. The engineer's opinion of probable construction cost was $910,000. The project has been awarded $530,500 in state funding through the Ohio Public Works Commission and to cover project costs, which is made up of a $349,500 grant and a $150,000 loan. A review of the bid from Carvo Paving indicates it's in conformance with all contract requirements. It's therefore recommended that a contract be awarded to Carvo Paving Companies to perform the work in the amount of $895,000, and the scheduled completion date for the project is October 31st of this year as well.
Thank you, Mr. Sawyer.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
Yes.
Ordinance number 23-057 is approved. Second readings, we have none. Third readings, we do have one. Ordinance number 23-0-046.
An ordinance amending the codified ordinances of the City of Mentor 2006 as amended, Section 1155.010, to add service station as a conditional use in the M1 Light Manufacturing District.
Mr. Flippia, any comments?
Nothing further. Happy to
Okay.
answer any questions
Counsel?
from council.
Mr. President?
Mr. Blake?
I'd like to move to put this on the table until such time as we could have a full council to vote on this.
Do I call the roll?
Needs a second.
I need a second, yeah. Second. You do not have a second.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
No.
Mr. Kirchner.
No.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
No.
Mrs. Dowling.
No.
Ordinance number 23-0-046 has failed. Pavement open, manager's report. Sorry, I'm doing your report.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of council. Council, we do have one pavement open cut request for your consideration. This would be at Little Mountain Road at the intersection of Evergreen Drive for a new Aqua Ohio service main and valve to replace the existing water main under the pavement. Ask for your approval.
Move to approve.
Wait, Mr. President?
Yep.
If I might.
Blake?
Dave, when this was repaired, I believe it was last year, the repaired section has a real hump to it. When they come and tear this out, are they going to tear out that whole hump and redo it like really nice?
Yes.
I mean, I do appreciate that it's a traffic calming device that's there now, but it's like a rising up and down. So, I mean, I guess my question is, what's there right now is a temporary repair?
Correct,
And
yeah.
after this is done, the whole thing will be nicely repaired?
Yes, we're requiring an extensive pavement repair limits with this project,
Okay.
so it'll go well beyond the open cut area. But the intent of that is to correct that problem that you're talking about, that hump in the lane, as well as, I believe we had 3 breaks over the past year and a half, so counting the one that you're discussing. So our intent is to make the repair to address the last few
Good.
breaks.
Good, okay. That's what I was hoping. Thank you.
Did we vote on that?
No.
Go ahead.
Move to approve.
Second.
Julie, please call the roll.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Mr. Kirchner.
Yes.
Mr. Blake.
Yes.
Mr. Donovan.
Yes.
Mrs. Dowling.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Council, very short report tonight. Just really wanted to let you know that through the many activities over the Independence Day holiday week so far, including yesterday and some of the activities that we traditionally have out at our lagoons, that we had a very safe holiday break. Really no specific safety incidents to speak of. Traffic was a little bit of a challenge yesterday, but really it funneled out pretty quickly after the fireworks. Got a lot of positive comments about the entertainment and the fireworks display, and generally speaking, it was very orderly, and I think most of our residents were able to enjoy themselves. So that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Flippia. Clerk's correspondence.
Council is in receipt of the Mentor Municipal Court May 2023 report. That is all.
Commission committee reports. Council, you're in receipt of the Board of Building and Zoning Appeals, May 9, 2023. Municipal Planning Commission, May 25th, 2023. Old business? Anybody? New business?
Mr. President,
Mr. Kirschner.
I have a question for the administration. I noticed recently there was some type of a window that broke at Uptown Mentor Development Project, property. I noticed it's been boarded up. Have we got any feedback from when they're going to replace the windows?
I can't speak to that directly. Ms. Mitchell, do you know if there's any
I don't-
timeline on that?
I don't have a timeline, no.
We'll get some information and get back to you on that, Councilman.
We do have a person before council. Is this Daniel? Daniel Smith. Hi, Daniel. You
you
have
doing?
4
Hi.
minutes, and state your name and address for the clerk.
My name is Daniel Smith.
Thank you, sir.
9310 Canterbury Lane,
Thank you.
and I'm going to start my timer.
Okay.
My wife and I moved here 6 weeks ago to be closer to her side of the family, and we absolutely love it. That our neighborhood is fantastic, and we couldn't be happier to be here, except for one thing, which happened about 2 weeks ago when First Energy changed out a street light. I'm in a corner lot, so my driveway is a short driveway into Briarwood, and right across the street is the carriage-style light that doesn't point down, it blasts everywhere. And they put in those new LEDs, which they are doing, as opposed to the older style sodium, nice, comfy orange ones that you're used to seeing, which are going the way of the dinosaur. These newer ones that First Energy is kind of slapping in there are uber bright. They're the ones that are more on the blue spectrum frequencies. They reflect a lot more, and spoiler alert for the article that you may or may not have read, they tend to cause sleep disorders. They reduce melatonin production, just like computer screens. If you're on a computer screen late at night, same effect. I have a call into First Energy. I'm not asking you to work on my situation at all. But I'm going to use it as here's what I'm going to go through, and other people are going to be more and more and more in the future. We have a guest bedroom. Yes, we hit the half-price sale at Lowe's. We got blinds and stuff coming, but it's still nice on a nice summer night to have the window open for breeze. We have a 3-season room, and I get to watch TV now with a spotlight coming right at me. And we're spending a lot of money, by the way, which you should be glad to hear, on putting it into our house. We signed a contract about a month ago for a nice pressed concrete patio with a natural gas fire pit, you know, the little bubbly balls and all that. And now I'm sitting out there going, oh, Lord, this is going to have all the ambiance of being in a prison camp with the guard up there in the guard tower. Anyway, that's where I'm at. And it just so happened, a week ago Sunday in the Plain Dealer, reprinted from the Washington Post, was an article that I emailed to you folks yesterday, and Ms. Scavone has the analog copy on paper, in other words, for you to look at. I beg you to read that. I even made an outline of it for the front of the key points. I'm a retired middle school teacher, so that's kind of what I do. Yes, we know they're more efficient, but they can be worth up to 60% more in light pollution. And if you can go to the Washington Post article, they actually have some graphics from satellite of a city that hasn't done it and has, and the difference is astounding. They talked about the issues of sleep and other issues with people don't sleep, again, in immune disorders, possibly increases with cancer. They didn't talk about wildlife, but I was Googling around, and other places, other sources did mention the effect on wildlife. I could tell you right now, I've lived in Lakewood for many years and North Olmsted for the past 6. You have a lot more birds here than there. And you have the marsh right here. That's a real treasure, and I think we need to be alert to that. Washington, D.C. and some other cities, apparently, from the article anyway, have stopped this conversion because of a lot of these issues. They talk about solutions, lower wattages and better light directing, and if you go to Lowe's, you can buy LED bulbs that are in the warmer frequency, but I don't think First Energy really thought much about that when they bought the $10 million. They probably did. They're going to throw in the streetlights. At any rate, My ask is this, and it's a big one. However you folks do it, simply to say this could be a problem. As I had a conversation on the phone with Mr. Blake, and he said, it seems like we're in the middle of the beginning of this transition. It's going to get worse and worse and worse as these old lights go away and the new ones are replaced. So I have no idea what form that takes, what you would have to do, but I know that just one Joe Blow person like me up against First Energy, unless I do something really creative that will get me on CNN.com, which my wife would not like, is not going to do anything. But maybe if a city or a group of cities get together and say, we need to talk about this. I am
Thank
out
you,
of
Daniel.
time.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I actually think I said everything I wanted.
You did good. Counsel?
Move to adjourn.
I can